Day 4, Silence after the storm. After a difficult day of funerals, the silence in the house became even more intense. The first rays of gray morning light slid across the pale wallpaper in the kitchen. Martha stood by the window, holding a cup in her hands. Her gaze was fixed on a tree branch swaying in the light breeze. George had planted that tree on their first wedding anniversary. She remembered how he had joked, "May it grow like us." Strong and slow. Her hands trembled slightly, fatigue mixed with a hollow feeling of emptiness. She didn't have the strength to think about the day ahead. She didn't even feel like making tea. But she stood there. She looked. She was silent. Light footsteps sounded behind her. Thomas, barefoot, in a gray t-shirt, his hair uncombed, sat down at the table. He was holding a wooden boat, the same toy his father had left him. He slowly traced the engraved name with his finger, Tomas. "He made it last fall," Martha whispered without turning around. "I know," Thomas replied quietly. "I saw it. He wanted the mast to be made of mahogany. Because it's strong." Silence. Only the wind outside the window and the slight creaking of a branch. "Do you think?" Thomas faltered. "Does he see that we are sad?" Martha finally turned around. She looked at him not as a mother, but as a person who had lost the very ground beneath her feet. She sat down next to him, hugged her son by the shoulders, and rested her head on his head. "If he can see, Thomas. Then he's hugging us very tightly right now." They remained silent for a long time. Together. In the kitchen, which yesterday smelled of coffee, and today smelled of silence after thunder. Translated with Deep L. Com, free version. Martha stands in the doorway. The room is silent, which seems even louder than her memories. Dust on the shelf, a folded shirt that smells of oil and mint. The chair by the bed is slightly askew, as if George had just gotten up. She slowly enters, touches the bed. Her fingers pause for a moment on the fabric of the pillow, as if searching for warmth. Then she goes to the bedside table, takes out a watch, an old mechanical one with a crack in the glass. Martha sits down. She carefully winds the mechanism. Click click, the sound is as familiar as his breathing. Her gaze stops on the second hand, which starts moving again. In the silence, only its ticking can be heard. She does not wipe away the tear that rolls down her cheek, she just silently watches the hand move forward. She whispers, barely audibly. "You always fixed everything. But how can this be fixed?" At that moment, Thomas is standing in the doorway, but he doesn't come in. He sees his mother, the clock, the tear. He says nothing, he just remembers. Because this is the moment when silence speaks louder than any words. Because the room no longer belongs to George, but it is still filled with him. The air was almost still that day. The birds in the neighborhood weren't singing, and even the wind seemed reluctant to disturb the peace. Thomas sat on an old wooden box in the yard. His small fingers clutched a wooden boat, a gift from his father that now seemed too important to simply hold in his hands. He wasn't playing, he wasn't imagining waves. He silently touched the engraving on the deck, Tomas. He looked down, as if afraid that the boat would disappear if he looked away. A handkerchief lay on his lap, still wet with tears. The boards on the porch creaked slightly, but Thomas did not look back. Someone was approaching quietly, as befits a day of mourning. "Hello," came a voice from behind him. He looked up. Standing before him was Julia, a classmate who had rarely spoken to him before. She was holding a folded piece of paper in her hands. Her gaze darted from the boat to him, from his eyes to the ground. "This is..." She handed him the drawing. "This is for you." Thomas unfolded the sheet. It was a simple pencil sketch. Ocean waves, the sun, and a small boat in the middle of the water. On the side of the boat was a name, Tomas. A ray of sunlight slid across the drawing. "Is this yours?" Julia asked. "My dad made it," he replied, almost in a whisper. She sat down opposite him on the grass, tucking her legs under her. "Are you a captain now?" Thomas stared at the waves on the paper for a long time. Then he looked up. "I don't know if the sea still exists." The sun began to sink toward the horizon. They sat side by side, silent. The sea may have disappeared, but the person who drew it was still there. A call from work. The sound of the phone breaks the silence. Martha, exhausted, slowly picks up the receiver. Her eyes show exhaustion. The voice on the other end is warm and restrained. "Hello? Is this Mrs. Grayson?" "Yes. This is Claire from the library. We are all very sorry. George was a wonderful man. We want to know if you need anything. Maybe help with groceries or Thomas? We're not imposing. We're just here for you." Martha is silent for a few seconds. She doesn't know what to say. For the first time in days, her voice almost breaks into tears, but she holds back. "Thank you. I don't know where to start. I don't know how to do this." "You don't have to know. Just allow yourself not to be strong every minute." On the table is a list of things Martha still hasn't started: school, bank, documents. She looks at it. "I'm just afraid that I won't have time to be a mother and everything else. George was my rock. I feel like I'm on thin ice." Claire sighs into the phone. In situations like this, you have to accept any warmth you can get, even if it's small. "We can take turns, someone can bring food, someone can pick up Thomas after school, someone can just come over for tea. It's not a burden, it's just human." Martha finally responds. "To be honest, tea would be nice. Come on Sunday. I'll probably still be in my pajamas, but I'll bring lemon cake. And my pajamas, if you want." Sparkles when the conversation ends. Martha holds the phone in her hands for a few more seconds. Autumn light shines through the window. For a moment, it seems to her that a little warmth has appeared in this kitchen. She looks toward Thomas's room. And for the first time in 4 days, very quietly but sincerely, she smiles. Martha slowly turns the page, her eyes stopping at every word, but they seem so distant, not like when he wrote them. His handwriting is neat and familiar, but now it looks so unusual, as if it belongs to someone else. And although the words written by George come from his heart, she cannot feel them without pain. It was a letter he left her with the thought that when this moment could not be avoided, at least in words he would be with her to support her. "My dear Martha, if you are reading these words, it means that I am no longer with you. And although it is difficult to accept, I want you to know that you were everything to me. Your love has always been my best support. I'm sorry it happened this way. I know you're not ready yet, and I understand. But you are strong, you will be able to find your way even without me. Keep living, Martha. Keep living the way we planned, even if I can no longer be with you. You deserve all the best in the world." Martha holds her breath, her hands weakly holding the letter, but suddenly she feels her heart begin to beat faster. Her vision blurs, and tears flood her eyes for a moment. She tries not to cry, but she can't hold back. His words are not just a message, they are a part of him that now remains to remind her of everything they went through together and why she must move on. She puts the letter on the table, but her hands are still shaking. It's hard to believe that this is real, that he will no longer be there to support her in moments of weakness or share the joy of each new day. During the few minutes that pass in silence, Martha feels a thought slowly forming in her heart that George has left her not only with pain, but also with a mission, to find the strength to live on. She gets up, takes the letter, and puts it in the desk drawer where she keeps other memories of them. Now she needs to get up and take the first step toward a new life, even if it will be difficult. She cannot remain stuck in this moment of loss. Only 2 days have passed, but she is already beginning to understand that life goes on, even without him. Only now, trying to feel herself in her own body, Martha takes a few steps toward the window. She looks at the branch of the tree that George planted for them and realizes that even in this difficult moment, life goes on, as does his love, which will remain with her forever. The silence of the evening envelopes the house. The room is lit only by the soft light of a night lamp, quietly flickering on the bedside table. Martha stands by the window, watching as darkness falls outside. Her heart is still heavy with grief over the loss of George, but this moment belongs to Thomas. She cannot allow herself to grieve now. He needs her more than ever. Thomas sits on the bed, wrapped in his pajamas, looking a little surprised, as he usually does when it's time for bed. His little face is not yet used to his father not being around, and although he is silent, she can sense that he is looking for her support. Martha approaches him, gently sits him on the bed, and tenderly adjusts the blanket. "Lie down, son. It's time to sleep. You're tired after a long day, aren't you?" Thomas, his voice thin and a little sad. "Mom, you haven't forgotten what Dad used to say, have you? He always read me bedtime stories." Martha, smiling with a touch of sadness, touches his hair. "I haven't forgotten, little one. But we won't be reading a story tonight. Maybe tomorrow, if you want, we'll go back to the old tradition." Thomas, throwing his head back on the pillow, looks at her with hope that has not yet faded. I want him to be here." Martha, gently hugging him, remembers how George always spent these evenings. "I want that too, Thomas. But you know, he will always be with us. In our hearts. And we will be strong, together." Thomas, with a small sigh, closes his eyes. "Okay. Mom."